Captain Insano shows no mercy.
Straight cash, homie.
Hold on to your butt.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Basement Monsters Game Day podcast on SportsZone Chicago. I'm Ivan Vargas. That's Luke Nettles, and that's more like it. That's more like it. Took you too long to run the ball consistently. Like I said, 8. That's not good. Like whatever was going on in the first half, I know we talked about it. It felt like Matt Nagy. It just felt like he was in charge of that first half. Too many passing calls. Too many times you allowed Mitch to make the decision for you. And one of the times in the red zone where you should have came out with points, where you need to come out with points if you want to be a playoff team, he did that to you. I thought we learned. You know what I mean? I thought there was a learning experience from this coaching staff about how to use David Montgomery and where do you find Mitch's success? Because you find Mitch's success running David Montgomery and passing, off of him.
100%. And they, I don't know. It also kind of seemed like maybe Jacksonville's a little flat. Like they just came out in the second half. It seemed way too easy for the Bears.
They got told, They're like, we're not winning no more games.
Right.
No more games.
Maybe.
Shad Khan came down there and he was like, he twirled his mustache. He was like, what the hell are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing, guys?
Right.
And, no, I mean, they, like I said, the guys in that locker room, they're NFL players. They don't give a damn about Trevor Lawrence whatsoever. They probably wanted to win, but they just didn't have the talent. And the Bears defense stepped up. Roquan, two big interceptions, and it was fun. It was fun watching a Bears team in the second half just go off and be loose and have fun, because that first half, ugh.
Yeah, that first half was wow. Talking about night and day, man. I mean, somebody went probably had a few parishioners in some of the churches down here praying, because that was a night and day performance, man. Like it was like I don't know, like Jekyll and Hyde type of thing. It's like one of them just stagnant and the other one's just can't stop them, So it's a good what they need, though. I mean, they're looking at moving forward to play Green Bay and possibly get into the playoffs. So I mean, this like you said, though, I mean, this should teach the Bears that we need to run the ball. Like if you go to Green Bay pulling that crap you pulled in the first half, you're out of the game by halftime. It's that simple. I mean, you have to apply what you learned today and what you have been learning over the past 4 or 5 games about David Montgomery. You have to stick with him, man. You have to stick with him, and then everything else will open up after that.
I didn't think. Right now we're gonna go ahead and bring in our guy Sean Sierra, the superback from Sean and Maya in the morning. Sean, I thought Mitch's performance was all right. It was okay. Like it wasn't him throwing or his passes so much that he was. It was the fact that he was passing and he was able to try to make these decisions. And I'm like, well, didn't we learn to limit those? Like, wasn't that the focus these past couple of weeks? Is to limit Mitch's decision making, put pieces in front of him so he could be successful, like escape routes, for instance, and run David Montgomery. And in the first half, David Montgomery had 8 carries. That's not what you've been doing in the past few games. I feel like Matt Nagy's, grubby little fingers, like you like to say, were all over this first half.
Oh yeah, they were, and you could tell. You can tell just by the efficiency, the smoothness of each drive who was calling the plays. Okay, so when you got a whole bunch of shifting and motions and a whole bunch of changing, that's Matt Nagy. Okay, when you get up to the line and you're running and moving at a quick pace, that's Bill Lazor. And you saw that second half, the opening drive of the second half, that went down and just punched it right in. I mean, was that not a hot knife through butter? Was that not a hot knife through butter? That smooth, efficient, effective drive, that was Bill Lazor. So, Nagy still has his grubby little fingers all over that damn offense, and it's going to come back and bite us in the ass. And he's really got to step the hell back, get off the offense, stop messing with the offense. Okay, you can't call plays. We all have skills. You can't call plays and be a head coach. So just be the head coach. Okay, let a guy who's done. We're averaging over 30 points a game since Laser has taken over, and most of them. I know the defense had a couple of interceptions and gave us some short fields, but most of the points that we've gotten were not because of the defense. We're not because of short fields. We're not because of takeaways. This was because our offense was moving up and down the field with a good combination of run, pass, and a heavy dose of run and David Montgomery. This is who the Bears are. This is the identity that he refused to acknowledge his entire tenure here. So you know what? Leave Bill Lazor alone. Leave his ass alone. Let him keep doing what he's doing. Let him keep adding some of his own plays. Well, he calls your crappy ass plays, and let's continue to win. Okay. Next week is looking good. We have Green Bay. If Green Bay wins tonight, they win the NFC. They will have they win the North. I'm sorry. They will have the home field advantage, if I'm not mistaken. And so they don't have to play it for anything. And I was having a discussion. Would you play? And because I know they want to beat the Bears, but that's a big picture. You want to worry about a stupid rivalry with the Bears, or worry about Aaron Rodgers getting hurt?
Mm-hmm. No, I mean it's a good point, and it's a point that my co-host Michael Halatek, who we're going to bring out right now, has been making. As well as you, Sean, you made that point this week as well. You two have been making that point, and I've been on the opposite. Kind of like I'm in agreement, but then I'm like, I know those low down dirty dogs will try. Like I could just feel like a half of Aaron Rodgers might be enough to deject the Bears if he goes off. But right now we're going to go bring in my co-host from the Barely Pregame Show and Halatek Hall, Michael Halatek. Michael, man, it was like I said, a pissy first half. Yeah,
victory beer.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the first half you were really nervous about any type of victory because I felt like there was opportunities to just put him out right there and then in the first half, and you just let him linger. But not only that, what I was talking about with Sean, I felt like there was some. I felt like there was a aura of Matt Nagy. Like Matt Nagy's MO was all over that first half. His signature. Do you feel like Matt Nagy was calling plays, or at least in calling them in a higher percentage than Bill Lazor? Do you think they were trading off plays? Do you think he was just like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and take over because it's the Jaguars? I wouldn't put that past him with some of the arrogant things he said. But what do you think Matt Nagy, or do you think Matt Nagy had any influence on the first half?
I think he had an influence. I think that Lazor was calling the plays, but I really think that Matt Nagy had his finger in the batter, so to speak. It was a shame because they came out in the third quarter. They scored 3 touchdowns in the third quarter. They hadn't scored 3 touchdowns in the third quarter in the first 14 games. So I don't know who lit a fire under who, but they came out and they had to convert a 4th and 5 on that first drive in the third quarter to get that touchdown, and that just sparked the team. Jacksonville didn't even get a first down in the third quarter, and the Bears just dominated from start to finish in that third quarter, which is something we had not seen. We need Seattle to lose. If Seattle loses this afternoon and Green Bay wins tonight, then they have the top seed. They're still in a battle with Seattle for the top seed. So, Sean, we need Seattle to lose. That game should be starting any time now. In about
3:15. So it should be starting.
They're playing the Rams, and Sean McVay has owned Seattle. He's 5-2 against Seattle. This is his 4th season, and nobody would be happier than the 4 of us on this screen right now to see the Rams continue their dominance over the Seattle Seahawks.
But don't forget, they just got their ass kicked by the Jets, the Rams. So they're going to come out pissed, and hopefully they come out pissed this weekend, next week, so they can knock off Seattle, and then they can knock off the Cardinals again next week. But because they're, as you said, they're still in the fight. They're actually in a fight for the NFC West. They can still win the NFC West. The Rams can. So they have a lot to play for. And right now they have a hell of a lot of motivation to get that egg off their face, losing to the 0 for Jets last week. And First of all, what were the Jets thinking winning? But hey, that's another story.
Oh, hey, don't look down. The Jets are actually winning right now, 23-16, with a minute 31 left in the fourth quarter. The Browns are driving. They're on the 25 with a minute 31 left on the Jets 25. So they have a chance to blow it right here.
They just did. They just blew it. They were 4th and 1. And I don't think that the Browns converted on 4th and 1. And if that's the case, there's 1:18 left, and the Jets will win their second in a row, giving Jacksonville outright the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yep.
All right, let's go back to the Bears. I just felt like the defense rose to the occasion in the second half. They had to have felt like because I remember thinking, man, this team looks flat. Like both sides of the ball look kind of flat. So the defense for me, and you can see where Roquan's 2 big interceptions. Sean, the defense for me, I think they hit a bit of a wall in the first half, and then all of a sudden they just knocked that shit down. And we're like, hey, we're not going to let this opportunity slip out of our hands, because don't get me wrong, Jacksonville is Jacksonville. But if you, like you said with the Rams, if you've seen a poor team in the New York Jets, go ahead up against a top team in the league and beat them because the Rams didn't take care of business. You can't let a team like that linger. You can't give them confidence, and you definitely can't allow them to beat you when you have an opportunity to make the playoffs. And your season, your head coach's job is pretty much on the line.
If you're talking, the Bears, I wasn't worried about this game at all. If that's what I wasn't worried about this game. And they came out, and they're going to come out, obviously wanting to win. But Jacksonville is they're just a bad football team. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're just a bad football team. And the Bears have a lot to play for. Jacksonville has nothing to play for. Matter of fact, they want nothing to do. They have things they need to lose. So, and I understand you're professionals. I understand that you want to win every game, and you could give a rat's ass about the first round pick, but you give a rat's ass about the first round pick when it's your franchise quarterback, and that guy can turn that franchise around a complete 180 in 2 years. You know what I mean? Within 2 years, and they get some help around them. So yeah, they understand. They're not ignorant to that fact. You get Trevor Lawrence, you're getting a special player. And, because after Trevor Lawrence, it kind of falls off. You got Justin Fields from Ohio State, but he's not Trevor Lawrence. And I'm taking don't get me wrong, I'll take either one, but you'd rather take Trevor Lawrence, at least coming out of college right now. So I figured they'd come out with a little bit of a kick, of a little bit of fight, but as soon as you put the chokehold on them, they quit, is what they did. They quit.
Right, but and you're absolutely there's none of that is wrong. I just felt like you can't come out like that next week, regardless of who's like I said, regardless of what they do, you can't come out flat like that, because the Packers have talent, unlike the Jaguars. The Packers have talent,
but their run defense sucks. The Packers' run defense suks. So you come out running the ball. That's where Bill comes in.
Given Sunday, we just talked about the Jets beating the Rams. The Rams are Super Bowl contenders, are they not? In my opinion. I'm not I don't want to see a flat team. Like there should be no reason after 6 straight losses, a few weeks ago, that you're going to go ahead and come out flat in any game. And then not only that, on top of that, you had an opportunity with the Detroit Lions to go ahead and pretty much solidify a playoff spot. You had an opportunity in some of the games that you lost this year to go ahead and win in the last quarter, and you weren't able to do that. I can't see any type of flatness if this team wants to make a run. I understand it's the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I think this mentality needs to start now. Like, we talked about last week being somewhat of a playoff game against of sorts. Why can't every week be a playoff game? This should have been a playoff mentality. They should have been knocked out.
But it sounds like you're complaining about the loss. So you're just complaining about the start, because you have to understand Jacksonville's coming out to ruin it. Jacksonville's got nothing to play for. They want to see if they can ruin it, but they understand that they're not the better team. Give me the whole game. I'm okay with it, because Jacksonville came out ready to play. So did the Bears. So don't forget, Jacksonville is a professional team too. Even though they're not as talented as the Bears, I'll take a rough first quarter if we can finish strong. Obviously, I don't want a rough first quarter. Well, now I'll take a rough first quarter. If a team comes out literally, I mean, they basically blew their wad. They blew their load in the first quarter. That was it. If they could have got up quickly, it would have been great. But they didn't, and they realized they knew their role. They fell back into their slot and realized they were going to get blown out.
Mike, I feel like the Packers game next week. Like I said, I'm still 50-50. Like I see them sitting their players, but what if they lose this? What if they lose this game tonight? And then they go in. Do you think then they have to go in and they're like, hey, well, we need to fight for this number one overall? I mean, what's more of a benefit, the number one overall or resting your players?
Number one overall.
I mean, not number one overall seed in the conference.
If the Packers are in a position where they have to fight next week to get the number one overall seed, they'll do that. They'll fight like hell in the game next Sunday. That's why this weekend is so important. If Seattle gets beat by the Rams will own the tiebreaker against Seattle because they already beat the Rams. Or I believe the Rams already beat Seattle earlier this year, so they'll have swept the series and they'll both be at 10-5. If Seattle wins, they're 11-4. If Green Bay wins, they're 12-3. So they still would need to win, or Seattle need to lose going into next Sunday. So it's vital as a Bear fan. Although you hate to say, I want to see the Packers win tonight. I want to see the Packers win tonight, and I want to see Seattle get beat. So, yeah, the Bears don't have to go against Aaron Rodgers. And I think we talked about this before, Ivan. Aaron Rodgers knows. Aaron Rodgers knows all he has to do is show up, and he's going to beat the Bears. That's the mentality he has, and rightfully so. He has absolutely owned the Bears since he became the starting quarterback in 2008. I don't know if the Bears have won 5 games in his time as the starting quarterback. Christ, they couldn't even beat the Packers when Hundley was the quarterback, when he was out for a while back a few years ago. And Hundley beat them.
In the end zone by Benny Cunningham.
So it's imperative. Can the Bears beat Green Bay in Chicago? Of course they can, especially the way the offense has started to play. And if the defense just shows up, they didn't show up.
Right.
A couple of weeks ago, the Thursday or the Sunday after Thanksgiving, the Bears defense absolutely laid an egg. So you know that they're going to be gunning when they hit the field next Sunday. How many points have the Bears scored? They haven't scored. They've scored 2 points on defense, and every other point in this streak where they've now scored at least 30 points, 4 consecutive games. And I believe you have to go all the way back to 2012 to see a Bears team score 30 or more points in 4 consecutive games.
Sean, go and honestly, Mike, that's why I was like kind of upset, and it's part of me is like, I'm more upset that you reverted to old ways, not necessarily that you were started off sluggish. I don't need you to revert to old ways because that's how you start off slow. I mean, we've seen it, but regardless of that, it's over. I want to look forward to next week, Sean. How do you think that they need to approach? Let's say the worst case scenario, because I don't want if we talk about the best case scenario, I don't think there's really much to talk about. I think the Bears cakewalk over some the B squad of the Green Bay Packers, maybe. But if it's Rodgers and company, how would you expect the Bears to call the offense? Because when we saw this trade-off where it's like it looks like Nagy, it looks like Laser, that can't be sustainable. There's no way in how you could continue to do that moving forward if you make the playoffs or not. But how do you think that they approach playing an Aaron Rodgers as opposed to playing a dud Packer team?
Well, just real quick, the Jets did win, so Jacksonville is happy. They have the number 1 pick again. But here's what you do on offense. Here's what you do. You run the God-blessed ball. That's what you do. You keep Aaron Rodgers' ass off the field. You wear down that defense. Okay, you run the ball, play action, boots, waggles. Okay, drags. There's a lot of different things that you need to do, and everything is designed to keep Aaron Rodgers off the field, control time of possession, and just wear that defense down. That's what you need to do, and that's what you need to do. Period. Doesn't matter if the Bears are winning or not. I mean, if Green Bay's coming to win or not, if they've secured home field throughout the playoffs or not, doesn't matter. That's what you need to do anyway to win, because you're trying to win. You need to win, and this is what you need to do. Period. So the hell with what Green Bay has to do. That's insignificant. What they need to do is you need to make sure that you play your game, which means Bill Lazor has to call all the plays. Stop this going back and forth with different with different play callers, because you can, as I said, you can tell who's calling with plays that series. Stop it. Let Bill Lazor run the God-blessed plays, call the plays, and let him wear down that defense. Let him keep Aaron Rodgers off the field. There's no time for Matt Nagy to be messing around, because it's important. If he wants to keep his job, then he has to realize what Lazor has done. We put up 40 points today. We're averaging over 30 points since Bill Lazor has taken over the play calling. Stop messing your stupid little fingers in the goddamn offense, because you're screwing up, because your ego won't let it slide. And I hate when they said that today on the TV, and they talked about his humility and giving up play calling. That pissed me off.
You know what?
He's still involved in it. He needs to be completely hands off. Yeah, you have input during the week, but on game day, you're the head coach. Obviously, you get, hey, I want to run this, or look, do something here. But let Bill Lazor call the God-blessed plays, please.
You know what? When Jay Feely and Sean, I was pissed when he said when he opened his mouth and said that. I was like, "Are you serious?" I can understand, you giving him some type of credit for humbling himself and saying, "Hey, Bill, help me out here." But the way that they drew it up, the way that they projected it to us, it was like you were about to tell us this great grand story about how Matt Nagy is done so much to change his team, when it's really Bill Lazor. And Jay Feely was struggling to find out, to explain himself even after the fact. Mike, I like I said, I'll give Matt Nagy some credit, but I'm not going to give him total credit for this turnaround, and I'm definitely not going to praise him as much as Jay Feely and the booth seem to be doing on the national broadcast. I think he has his flaws, but the way that they went about it just seemed to me like Matt Nagy had no flaws to them. Now he's fixed. He's cured. He has all the right answers, and I just think that's wrong.
It is wrong, and Nagy hasn't had all the right answers. He's been flawed. I think he's a great leader in the locker room, but when it comes to offensive play calling, I don't think he can hold a candle to Lazor, and Lazor has proved it, and the team has proved it ever since Lazor became the play caller.
This has been and I hate to say it, it's been like a fantasy type of a scheme for Matt Nagy. It's too much. If you have the quarterback, if you have the team to do it, by all means, throw it 50 times if you can. I mean, still run the ball, but you can do that because you have the personnel. We just went through these few weeks where you saw Mitch make progressions. You saw Mitch. You have people around the league saying, "Wow, this has been the best string of games we've ever seen Mitch Trubisky play." I mean, that's saying something for a guy that was benched early in the season, and people were talking about he's done. He's never going to play in Chicago again, and now we're talking about him being re-signed. I just feel like Matt Nagy has, like you said, he's great in the locker room. He's probably, I can believe that more than I can believe that his play calling, it can find success at any point. Unless you have the right personnel, and that means you have to give him everything in front of him in order for his philosophy to work. And that just, for me, that doesn't bode well for the Bears. They don't have that kind of talent on this roster. Sean,
well, that's not good. But again, you and everybody else has got to take Matt Nagy out of this. All right. If you got Bill Lazor calling the plays, then we don't need the great quarterback. We don't need we have everything we need.
I'm speaking about Nagy himself, though, does.
But you know what? Yeah, even though Nagy himself is still the egotistical maniac that he is, if we can get him and Bill Lazor's got to step up as well. He's got to say, hey, listen, I need you to back off. Suggestions, yeah, but you can't be calling series, throughout a game. I have a small body of work with the same people, the same personnel that you couldn't even average 20 points with, okay? And I'm putting up over 30. Okay, let me do my job. And it's got that conversation, that blunt conversation has to happen. Because if Bill Lazor can continue to do his job, I'll tell you what, I'm really liking this. I'm liking our chances of winning one, maybe even two playoff games. I don't think we're going to get to the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl, but I think we could win one playoff game, win a wild card round. And if we win a wild card round, everybody's staying. Don't expect any changes whatsoever. Which is, you talk about a dual-edged sword. I want him to lose because I don't want Nagy and Pace and all those guys. But then this is my favorite football team in the world, so I love seeing them win. And especially when they have the team now. This defense is today. It was tough to gauge because they didn't have a lot of weapons. Okay, but maybe they I didn't see a lot of Khalil Mack. I didn't hear a lot of him called. Which maybe they're arresting him a little more because they know what next week is about, and next week will be a great time to amp that defense up, especially if we get a lead. So I'm happy with today's win. Nowhere near satisfied. Mitch got to stop doing that stupid garbage like he did at the end of the half. But I'm happy with the win. You put up 40 points. There's really not a lot to be upset about. Things to clean up, things to work on, things to tighten up. But you really can't. That's coach talk. Like, okay, you can't do this, and this. There's a whole bunch of other great stuff. Let's not start bitching about everything that went wrong. Let's start looking at all the things that went right. And there are a lot of things that went right today.
Oh, in the second half, there was no doubt. And Mike, in the second half, man, like I really want to talk about Roquan Smith, Mike, because
stud.
He got the biggest snub in the world. Stud.
You're gonna about this guy right here. Did I call it today?
He got the biggest snub in the world. Was not invited to the Pro Bowl. Well, you're not getting invited to the Pro Bowl anyway. You're just named to the Pro Bowl this year. He was out there again like a man on fire, running left and right all over the field. 2 big interceptions. Roquan Smith, Mike, tell me about him.
Roquan Smith, he got some injuries last year. He started a little slow this year, but he's really come on strong. And it was great to see him come up with those 2 picks. This is the first time I've worn this jersey all year, and he came through for me today. And I want to give you a shout out, Ivan, because you predicted a 40 burger for the Bears today. Earlier on the Barely pregame show. So hats off, my friend, for calling that. You missed it by 1 point, but we'll take it. And if it wasn't for that cheap touchdown that Jacksonville scored late in garbage time, you would have nailed their score right on the head. You had the score at 40-10, and it ended up 41-17. So hats off, my friend. But getting back to your question, Roquan Smith, there's no doubt this is the guy that the Bears have to build around going forward. I don't know, and maybe Sean, you can answer this question for me. What the hell has happened to Eddie Jackson? Because you just don't hear his name called at all, and you haven't heard his name called since the last of his 2 pick sixes got called back because of penalty.
Eddie Jackson is, first of all, they're not really going toward him. They're not throwing a ball deep, and that's where he's at his best. Okay, if you ask him to come up and run support, that's not his game. He'll do it reluctantly, but that's not his game. So the thing that he's best at is being a free safety, being a center fielder back there, going around. Teams are kind of shying away from it. They're gonna, they'll occupy him and throw to another side, to one side of the field, to the other, and keep it away from the middle of the field. He's got to be more active when it comes time to tackling. That's in my opinion. I know that's not your game, but that's what you need to do to be considered one of the best. And people were putting him up there with the Ed Reeds and the Ronnie Lotts, a couple of years ago. I'm like, hold on, player, let his body of work fill out before we start putting him in that category. And right now, he seems to be making business decisions as opposed to football decisions. And business decisions are, okay, we'll tackle him, or if someone else kind of has him down, and I won't really go very hard, instead of coming in, and that's a chance where you can really go and lay the wood on somebody. If someone's being held up or he's being, starting to be tackled, he's being held back by one guy, man, you could really haul off and label somebody. But he's not a hitter. He's never been a hitter. He'll take his shots when he's got them, very rarely. But in the thing with him is he's just not I don't think he's as sharp as he was when he first started, when he first came into the league, because when you come into the league, you want to do well at everything. But I think he's got a little bit of the not entitlement, but he just doesn't really want to get down and dirty as far as hitting goes.
And you're right, Sean. I'm looking at his stats right now from 2019. Well, 2018, we know he had a little more targets because that was his rookie season. He had 54 targets that season, but then last year it was 43, and this year it's at 42. So there was, they don't target him as much, but the difference here is the completions on him and the yards after the completions. It seems like, because he has 30 completions to 42 targets. That's a 71.4% completion rate, and he's given up 407 yards as opposed to 233 last season. It just seems to me like he's not getting to his spot. Like he's just getting beat. It looks like he's making and his tackles are. He doesn't have a lot of missed tackles for some reason on this stat sheet. But for me on the pursuit after the catch, that's where he's getting tackles, but he's getting beat. Like he's making tackles, but he's getting beat and making tackles, and that's not a good thing necessarily. I just feel like Eddie Jackson could be a little bit better than we thought he was. I just don't think that there's no dog in him. I feel like there's no dog in him right now for some reason or another. I just don't see that in him.
You also have to look at, because he's not making as many plays, and the plays that he's made have been called back, that can affect your psyche. And I think it has. I think it really has affected him. I think if those two pick sixes that he had were not called back, I think we have a different Eddie Jackson. His mentality is different. It's a little more aggressive. I think right now he might. I don't want to say he's checked out because there's playoff implications on the line. I think he's a little more apathetic about that. I think he's being really hard on himself because he hasn't come up with the turnovers and the big plays that he has in recent years. So he's got to get out of his own head, and I think that because that's what's screwing him up.
Guys, thanks for coming on, man. I'm happy we got the win. I'm excited. We got playoff football. It's playoff football, regardless of how you think of it. Yep. They still have to win. I know they can still get in with a loss, but I feel like if you're gonna keep this thing going, you need to keep this thing going with a winning streak going into the playoffs, as opposed to losing and still getting in. I think that'll be better for the psyche of this team, in the long run. Mike, Sean, thank you guys for coming on. Sean, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find us throughout the week and on online.
Guys, if you want to follow me, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all one handle at the Sean Sierra. If you want to follow me, and then don't forget Monday, Wednesday, and not this Friday again because that'll be New Year's Day, but Monday and Wednesday this week. Sean and Mike in the morning, SportsZone Chicago. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you download the app, SportsZone Chicago. Make sure you follow subscribe to our YouTube page, SportsZone Chicago. And make sure you follow us on Facebook, SportsZone Chicago. That's where you'll be able to check us out Monday and Wednesday this week, but we're usually on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. to noon, Central Standard Time.
Mike, where can they find us?
You can find me on Twitter at Texter, TEKSTER 420, and at Halitech Hall on Twitter, and at Facebook at facebook.com/Halitech Hall, where Ivan is my co-host from 6:30 to 8 on Wednesdays. We are actually joined this week by Windy City Gridiron's Jacob Infante, so it'll be a great show. Thanks for watching, guys.
Fellas, thank you, Sean. I'll see you tomorrow. Mike, I'll stay in touch throughout the week.
All right, guys.
Guys, that was Sean Sierra and Michael Halitech. it was frustrating that first half, dude. And but like I said, seeing them respond, that was a plus. I'm just looking forward, just because the road is there, I'm looking forward as opposed to looking all right, well, we got the win now. You can't continue this. If you're Mitch, you can't continue having those lapses in the red zone where you're trying to force the ball. I mean, I know, Eric, I know you and Allen Robinson have a thing, but you can't continue to force. You can't force it if it's not there. You can't try to make Allen do more than you. It's almost like you're asking him to do more than he should be asked to do. Like he's already running down the field. Now he has to go ahead and make up for your bad throw. It needs to be understood that in the red zone, forcing it is not an option. Like you cannot do that. You can't. We saw some good passes by Mitch, but that one really pissed me off, man. It really did. You had, in the long run they won. Like I said, it was a blowout win. But if I'm looking at that against any other team, it's a shitty throw. It's a shitty throw that should probably against a better team change the game.
Or it could have been a pick six.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the better corners, I mean, that's it was bad, a little more outside, he would have been fine, because the guy wouldn't have been able to catch it, come down in bounds.
Right.
But yeah, he could have gone over the top of him. He could have put it at his feet. He could have, there's a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and you're right about Robinson because, the play was already called. Mitch scrambled one way, so they had already broke off their route. So, and he fought as good as he could to try to come back and get open for Mitch. It's just, there was a guy underneath of him. So, that's Mitch has to see that.
Right.
And there was another play in the middle of the field where Mitch threw one to Kmet, and there was a guy diving on that one. That one could have been another turnover right there very easily. So it's just, and I mean, both of those two are probably like if you hold it 1 second longer, the guy passes in front of your guy and your guy's probably open. But, like I said, he threw quite a bit. He was throwing. They didn't run much in the first half. They were throwing. And like I said, against Green Bay, I mean, their defense isn't great, but it's not Jacksonville. And what you're hoping for today is that Derrick Henry can just flatline these guys and just pound them. So then that way, when they do come into Chicago, maybe they still have a few, they still got to loosen up a little bit, get the old Ben Gay treatment or something. Just so Montgomery can pick up right where Henry left off.
Like I said, I would like to see not Aaron Rodgers. I'll tell you that. I just don't, Tennessee's good, man, and like Mike was saying, that run defense for Green Bay is not that great. Like I said, I could see it. I could see it as such. I could see it. Green Bay having to play for something, but maybe they play for something for a half, and then they're like, all right, we don't have a big lead. We're, the Bears are hungry. They're trying to win. They're playing to win, obviously. So maybe they try to go out and get to a quick lead and hope their defense holds late in the game. I don't know. I feel uneven about this game against Green Bay just because they have Derrick Henry on the other side, and they're going to be able to control the clock. They're going to be able to wear out that defense, and they're going to be, it's a high possibility that Tennessee comes out with a victory today. I like to think about everything, man. I don't want to just think about sunshines and rainbows. I want to think about everything because I want to you got to be prepared for every situation. Like I said, never look too far ahead. I enjoy this win for what it's worth because next week is it very well might be the real deal, a real playoff game. Like this is it.
Yeah, it starts after today.
It starts after today. So it starts right now. I think it should start in the minds of these guys right now. Hey, through it all, we still have a shot. What team do you want to be known as? You want to be known as a team that had the talent, but just couldn't put it all together. I believe they still have the talent on this roster to be a good team. It's just how do you use that talent? How are you going to exploit that talent to the best of that talent's abilities? And Matt Nagy, it's like I said, I can't have this touch and go. With the offense, just get your hands off of it. This is Bill's offense now. Be the head coach and go with it as such. Right now, the Rams are up 3-0 over Seattle. It's in the first, 6:17 left to go there. Philadelphia is up 7-3 against Dallas, 6:08 left in the first. Denver down 3-0 in the second quarter, and Carolina is up 6-0 over the Washington football team. Luke got the victory. It's gonna be a tough one. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here because I got food waiting upstairs. I'll talk to you at halftime of the Rams and Seahawks game because that one's gonna be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Until then, man, I'll be content, I guess. I'll be happy. I'll be happy for this next couple hours, and then I'll be thinking about the Green Bay Packers come next week. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. This has been the Basement Monsters Game Day podcast on SportsZone Chicago.
Captain Insano shows no mercy.
Straight cash, homie.
Hold on to your butts.